So I thought you might enjoy seeing how we can use the CSS to really spruce the page up. And so I'm going to give you a presentation here on playing around with the navigation system. So this is where our page is currently. I think the only thing I did between now and the last video is I decided to float this to the left. So I have this is my front page, and I only have the story page going here. Which we looked at extensively in the other videos. So of course the navigation is the same across the pages, and I'll mostly use the home page now to look at it. The only thing that I've added since we watched it before is I increased the size of the link text and the H1 here, and then I also used text-align equals center to center them here in this header area. So let's go ahead and go into Dreamweaver here, and let me just show you that stuff there. So here's the font size on the H1 when it's in the header, and then where did I put the let's see here. So here I've increased the anchors to 1.5 EM when they're in the nav bar. And so if you look here, this is a regular, this is where they're in that links page, okay? So they're actually going to be different. So, and that's, obviously we have already got a bunch of different rules. But now we're going to add a bunch of new rules to the links in the nav section. Okay, let's go back and look at the page for a second here. And so the first thing I'm going to show you is I can get rid of the underline. It doesn't really make sense to have the underline there. It's pretty clear that that's a navigation menu, and that doesn't really add anything to it. It does make sense to have links, especially ones that just happen to be inline and text underlined. So we're going to do that with text decoration. So I'll go in here, and again, I just want to do this for the links that are in the nav bar, so I'm using this contextual selector that puts a rule on the anchor when it's in the nav bar. Okay? By the way, I've added this too, and it's going to be necessary for what I'm going to do, which I'll talk about later. But normally I wouldn't have that there. The default display for the nav is inline. Okay, so text dash decoration, and you can see here that that's where the underline overline is. Now by default this is underlined, so we're actually going to set it to none to remove the underline. So we'll go ahead and save that, go back into Firefox, and now you can see that they're gone when I reload the page. Okay, so currently what's going on is when I hover over the mouse, it just changes the color slightly of the link, and that's not very pronounced. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to set different background colors for these so they start to look like buttons. And I'm going to show you we can make square buttons that are all compact, or we can make jQuery mobile style round buttons. So we'll start by making the square buttons. Okay, let's go back into Dreamweaver. There's the stuff I'm going to use today, by the way, just in case I have to remember. I've got a little cheat sheet note there. Alright, so basically what we want is we want a different background color when it's hovered and when it's default. So see, this is not specifying the state. So this is going to apply to the link at all times unless the hover overrides it. So I'm going to put one background color in here. So let's see, that's background dash color. Oops. And I'm going to make that yellow because that works okay against my gold header background. Alright. Okay, before we do anything else, let's look at that and see what it did. Come on over here, refresh, And so now you see that they have a background color, and you can see that they're almost touching one another. So I think you can see where I'm going to go from here. I'm just going to put a border around these buttons, and I'll have a navigation system. Now, however, right now the hover, the only thing it's doing is changing the foreground color. That's not very pronounced. So I'm going to have it change the background color when I hover too. And although I could find a third color, I'm just going to use this gold color for the background, because eventually those are going to be in a box and that'll look fine. They'll have a border around them. So we come down here to the hover and we just add the background color in here. And let's see, let's make that gold like I said. Where's my G here? Save that. Pop back into Dreamweaver, reload, and now watch what happens. So you see how that it changes the color? So even though it's changing to the background that I already have, now I could invert this if I wanted. I could make this gold when it's not over, and then it would jump out. So we could change them around. Let's try that just to see if we like that better. I say we here, right? That's the royal we, isn't it? Alright, so I'm going to make this gold. If I can type. And I'm going to make this yellow. So now what will happen is the buttons will blend into the same background. That won't matter, and I can change this color too at some point. But again, the next step is to put frames around them so they actually look like buttons. Oops, lost my mouse. Where the hell is it? Oh, there we go. Alright, back into Dreamweaver, reload. The buttons disappear. And now you can see that when I mouse over them, they light up with that other color. Okay, let's go ahead and put the frame in around these now. And that's going to go here on the regular nav A, so that'll never disappear. I don't want the frame to just suddenly appear. I could do that. I think it looked kind of weird though. So we're going to use the border for that. So border style equals solid, and border, what is that, width? Yeah, is we'll go with medium for a start. And then what's the other function? I always have three. Oh, the color, right? Okay, border color, and I guess we can go with red here again. Red, we've been using red and black. Alright, let's save that. Go back into Firefox and take a look. And here's the reload. And now I have these buttons. Okay? Now, let's take a look and see if I have any margin on those, because I think that's why I've got space between them. So, let's see here. No margin there. Oh, we have margins. Oh, that's not. That's nav. Let's do a little experiment here in case the block element is causing that space. It's okay the way they are, and actually if I make them thick, that might take the margin out too. Let's start by trying this inline. Yeah, that really didn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to put that back because I think I need that for something else later on. Alright, let me see here. Font size, padding left, padding right. Of course, the padding is inside that. Okay, I'm not going to worry about trying to collapse those things down. There's another way of doing this. It's kind of elaborate here. So let's do this instead. border style dash, let's see, well, it's kind of weird, but basically what I was going to say is if you only put a border on one side, then you'll have a solid line between the buttons. But it seems like kind of a pain to do that, and it's going to be asymmetrical because I'll have one on either end. And of course I could go in and do that. I could create an individual style for the first button so it has a border on both sides, and then all the rest have a border on the right, and then basically they'd only have one border between them, which would make them look like they were right next to one another, I think. But yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. I will try one other thing though. Let's try making this thick and see if that does it. There's a way with the table to compact the cells. There might be an obscure HTML or CSS attribute for this that'll do the same thing. So again, I don't know everything that's available. This didn't help any. That just made it bigger. Okay, and actually I don't like that. I liked it better when it was medium. So let's go back. Actually, let's try the thin real quick just to see. So you can kind of see that I'm just experimenting here. I sort of know what it'll do, but I'm kind of experimenting to see what it looks like. Oh, I really... Now that would actually work if I had two different colors. So maybe I'll leave that for a while because I might change my color. So right now I'm using the same color for the background, the gold, and you can see then that makes it pop when I do the hover. I could actually use two different colors too, and you can also I could have a different color for each one of these in a color combination, so a sort of over, off and over type color, you know, button on, button off for each one. Okay, so you can see now that I have this button menu, and now if I want to make the buttons different, I can go ahead and start to give them radii in that. So let's go ahead, and I just want to show you that I kind of preferred those. What I worked out with before, I turned out to have really nice ones. So let's put this back to medium. I think that'll work better. And then let's go ahead and put in our border dash radius. And just so happened that I used the same value that I used my wizard picture. Excuse me. It's a late afternoon here. And where is that? So that was 1 EM. And because these are fairly small, it gave me almost like round, completely round-edged buttons. Whoops. Lost my typing point there. Yeah, 13 EM is certainly going to be too wide. Okay. Seems like I'm losing my stuff here. Alright. Let's see. There's the mouse. There it is. Here we go. Reload. So there you go. Now you can see the circular buttons. And that's actually pretty nice. Now, before I played around with putting margins on these to space them out more, but this actually is going to work a little better when I start to roll this down. In particular, I like what's going on now because this is actually maintaining the text. So I am going to try to make the buttons all the same size, but that means that most of them will get bigger because they have to all be the same size as the definitions. And what happens when I do that is it seems like when I compress the design, because I have a small form factor, the text will creep out of the border. Right now it's not, so that's pretty good. So it might be worth leaving the buttons like that as different sizes. It doesn't look super professional, you know. It's got that kind of childish, playful look that goes along with this type of font. But, you know, it might be alright. So hang on a second, too. I want to show you something else. Let me go back to the square buttons and remove the radius here, because just wanted to show you how that works when we resize the browser. So again, this is working pretty good. Okay, before I go back to the rounded buttons now, I'm going to show you how I can get the buttons to all be the same size. Now, one drawback with this is then it starts to break when you get it smaller. And so what we'll have to do eventually is add a media query where we'll have a different set of rules for each size factor, form factor that we want to support. And that's not a bad thing. This will look nice, but then we'll want it to work well on a mobile device as well. Okay? Alright, again, let's minimize this. And so now what I want to do, now again, this is a rule that I want to do. Let's see, did I put that stuff in the wrong place? Oh, yeah, up here. That's good. So again, this is a rule for the A in any state, the anchor of the link in any state, when it's in the nav section. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and try to size the buttons. So the way I do this is with a width element. So we'll put width, and now I have to kind of guesstimate this, and I tried this with EMs and percentages. So let's try 10% and see how that works right off. So we'll set that to 10% width for our buttons, and then we'll go back in and take a look at that now in Firefox. So you can see that at this resolution it has to word wrap because there's 2 words in that button, and as we start to get really together, then the buttons override one another. So it seems like setting the size is what does that. There might be a way to specify min width or something like that. I don't know about that. And so again, this is kind of pushing it, okay? Because if we go into Dreamweaver and we use the live view, I think we're going to see that even that default desktop view that Dreamweaver has, oops, got to be on the HTML. Let's see, does it, yeah, it doesn't matter which page as long as it's an HTML page. Multi-screen preview. So you can see the phone is screwed up. The tablet is okay, and this is alright, although it did word wrap on the word, right? And, well, now, so we do have a little issue here and here. So it's still functional, but not optimal, and that's probably not good. We don't want to have that. So that we're going to have to do something else, and that's going to be to create a media query in our style sheet, which we'll get to. That's something you want to learn anyway. But for right now, I think I'll let the buttons be. We can try that another way too. I just wanted to try it. I don't think it'll matter though, but I can set the buttons to about 8 EM, which is roughly the same size, I think. I know this because I was playing with it before, not because I'm like brilliant or anything. Alright, and then we'll just go ahead, and that's too big actually, it looks like. So let's go with the, where are we here? Let's jam that down to 5. Save. And we'll go ahead and test it again. Oh, that's looking pretty good now. So Let's see if it works now. Oh, this is good. So because I use the EMs, now it's working really well. So that's excellent. So that's a reasonable thing. I could do that. Let's go ahead and look in the Y view. So I actually just discovered something in doing this with you that I didn't get in my prep when I was playing around with it before. So by using the EM here, it seems like that's been the key to making this more responsive to work on these different form factors. So let's take a look again at our multi-screen preview here. So now you can see that the phone preview is working great, and that one's fine too. It did wrap, but it's a reasonable menu, right? And then here, and again, if I want to do the media queries, like this is really great, one after another. But I could, of course, make them full screen width and just set them to be that way on a small factor. This one here, I could probably make it break, so I'd have 3 on each line. This one is fine here. The definitions is a little tight, but it's okay. And of course, it's fine on our large, desktop that I'm using for development here. So I'm real pleased. I figured out something that I didn't have before when I was starting out with the presentation for you. Okay, so let's go on now and just try the circular buttons. So we got these working, and then all we're really going to do there is add the radius onto the buttons, and that probably will change the spacing a little bit, so we might have some issues. But I'm thinking that this is going to work really well. And so hopefully we won't have too much background noise here and screw up the video. But let's continue here. So again, this is going to go on the A element in the nav. So it applies to all of the links in all their states. The only thing that I'm really changing in the states right now is the color and the text color. Okay, so let's put that 1 EM radius back in, and so now I should have circular buttons, and we'll go ahead and see what those look like in the browser. So we're going to refresh it here, and there they are. Looks pretty good. Again, they're kind of like that, and if I want, I can go ahead and make this yellow the default, or some other color, so I can have 2 separate colors, and that's probably going to look better than having it the same as the background color. I think I mentioned to you that I'm kind of bad at color, and basically you should follow your own knowledge of that rather than what I do here. Alright, I'm trying to resize the browser, and I can't seem to get the corner there. Just a minute. There we go. Alright, so alright, now let's take a look. So again, we can just test it by changing it like this. That's very good. So that's about the size of a phone, right? Tablet. And then anything else is a console. That's looking great. And then let's go ahead and use the Dreamweaver tool, which is the multi-screen preview. Again, you have to be on the HTML to do the previews in the live view. So preview multi-screen, and then again, there's my phone. That's pretty decent. And again, I could probably make this better if I wanted to write the media query for it, but if I wanted, I could probably leave it go and it would be acceptable. It's certainly a functional menu. It's asymmetrical and symmetrical enough to be okay. I could make it a little better with 3 per line instead of 4 and 3 like that. Alright, let me think a second here. I think we just about did what we wanted to do here. Oh, I was going to change those colors, yeah. So let's go ahead. And so now here's the deal. I want the default background color to be different then the gold. So I'm going to make that yellow, which looks nice against the gold. And now I really need a new color for the hover. Now I could make that gold, but that's kind of, I want a different color. So let's go ahead and let Dreamweaver give us the palette. And I'll see if I can find a sort of yellow looking color that'll work. And I think I want this to be brighter than the gold. So orange might work well. Let me try just putting the orange in. Oops, where did it go? Right there. Okay. Alright, we're going to save this, and then we're going to go ahead and go back into Dreamweaver and refresh. So now notice that the buttons have the default yellow, and when I bring them over, they have, with the hover, they have the orange. Okay, so the color's not working very well, the text color on the orange. That black looks okay, but the red doesn't. The red is a visited link, so I'm hovering over a visited link there. So maybe we should get a separate foreground color for the hover as well. Honestly, I'm not sure which one to use here. So I think I'm going to leave it like that. Again, you're probably better with colors than me, and so you can give it a go. Alright, I haven't done this in a while, so before I close, let's see if this all works in Chrome. And again, I'm taking a chance here because I haven't tested it yet, so I might be biting myself in the ass, but I'm hoping it'll all work in Chrome about the same way. So we'll go ahead and preview in Chrome. And that's looking good right off. So there we go. That's full screen. And yeah, looks pretty much the same as it does. So that's good. I was kind of worried that some of the things that I had done might not translate as well. I've got a boatload of tabs open because I'm moving around. I've got the video and all that open. Alright, let me see if I can. Alright, let's stretch this baby. Alright. Yeah, that's really nice. I'm really pleased with this. Okay, so let me just max that out and get back into Dreamweaver. Alright, I sure hope you're getting a lot out of these videos. I'm enjoying making them. Take care until next time.